हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम, आवाज आ रही है सर को?
सलामकुम से।
वालेकुम सलाम। तुम लोगों का भी रिजल्ट है ना? नहीं नहीं, तुम लोगों का तो 19th को है।
जी सर।
19th।
सर ना याद दिलाएं प्लीज सर।
नहीं नहीं, वो बेचारी ए लेवल्स वाले बहुत टेंशन में थे।
सर
तो
उनके तो पेपर भी लीक हो जाते हैं, उन्हें कोई इतनी टेंशन नहीं रहती, हमारा तो
अच्छा,
सही से
उनके
हुआ
तो
था सर।
उन्हें नहीं, उनके तो तीन तीन हर पेपर ठीक हो रहा था। वो तो जो पेपर देने जाते थे वो नहीं, वो तो बहुत परेशान थे कि वो जो पेपर देते थे वो लीक हो जाता था।
ये सर बस कैमरे के तुक्के लगेंगे अब जो भी।
हाँ, पता नहीं कैम्ब्रिज क्या कर रहा है। चले असल में सबसे जो मसला होता है पेपर का वो एएस का होता है।
किसका सर?
एएस का जो एग्जाम होता है ना, वो बहुत, उसका जो रिजल्ट होता है वो बहुत अनप्रिडिक्टेबल होता है।
जी सर। सर काफी बच्चे तो वो भी हो जाते हैं लाइक, मतलब ए लेवल में ओ लेवल में सारे एक्स्ट्रा होते हैं, इधर आके बहुत ज्यादा डाउन आते हैं।
नहीं, मैं एएस की बात कर रहा हूँ ना, वो बेसिक एएस में होता है ना। एएस में अजीब सा होता है। एएस में होता है कि एएस में बहुत बहुत अनप्रिडिक्टेबल होता है। अच्छा चलें, ठीक है, सारे आ गए। नबीरा रानिया नहीं, अभी नहीं आए। अच्छा, लेकिन हम स्टार्ट करें। होल्ड ऑन वन सेकेंड। अच्छा, हम स्टार्ट करें कि लास्ट टाइम वी, नबीरा एएस ए लेवल्स का फर्स्ट ईयर है, ठीक है। अच्छा चलो, हमने ना, वी डिड सॉल्युबिलिटी, राइट? वी डिड अ टेबल। वो मैंने आई आई कहाँ पे किया है? वी डिड अ टेबल। आई गेस दिस वाज द टेबल, राइट? ठीक है, आई सेंट यू अ टेबल इन द, उसमें भी, इन द व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप, कि उसके अंदर था कि यू नीड टू नो व्हाट द सॉल्युबिलिटी ऑफ डिफरेंट कंपाउंड्स इज। कि रिमेंबर ग्रुप 1 NO3 -1 NH4 +1 और H +1 यानी एसिड्स, all of them are soluble. कहीं पे भी whenever you see NH4 somewhere, that is soluble. Whenever you see NO3 -1 somewhere, that is soluble. इसको भी ना, remember, this is rules for solubility. This is also something that is extremely important. तो ये कॉपी के एंड पे लिख लो ताकि you can reference it always, ठीक है? Whenever you forget it, you know where it is written. So group 1 compounds, Na, potassium, anything, whenever you see potassium somewhere, that compound is soluble. Sulfates, most of them are soluble except for these 4 5. Silver, lead sulfate, barium sulfate, strontium, calcium sulfate थोड़ा बहुत soluble होता है। अच्छा, you've got chlorides, bromides, iodides, they're all soluble except for ये silver chloride and lead chloride or bromide or iodide. Carbonates and phosphates are mostly not soluble, mostly not soluble. And oxides and hydroxides, so carbonates and phosphates are mostly not soluble except for group 1, and जिनका हमने पहले कहा था कि they're all going to be soluble. Oxides and hydroxides, they're mostly insoluble except for group 1 is soluble. NH4 +1 hydroxides are soluble, or group 2, the bottom of group 2 is soluble. So I've written that the last two of group 2, they are soluble. Acha, so, or oxide का मैंने बताया, when oxides, so this was important, okay, I told you that oxides don't exist in aqueous state. When oxides are dissolved in water, they turn into hydroxide. So कोई भी oxide होगा ना, that will, what will happen to it? It is going to turn into a, it is going to turn into a hydroxide. You can remember that. So now the next important thing is that, so you know, oxide or hydroxide. Now what is important is that, what do we do with the solubility table? We're going to use that for salt preparation. Okay, so remember we practiced a lot of equations. So salt preparation, how do you prepare a salt? So remember there are four equations for preparing a salt. You get any salt. We did all those four equations. So if you're trying to make a salt, there are four ways of making a salt. First one, you can react a metal with an acid, and it will give you salt plus hydrogen gas. You get that's one way. As a second, there are other ways of preparing a salt as well. As a metal together, I told you mazet, I told you magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, and tin. These were the only metals that are safe to use. The other ones are too reactive. ये हमने metals वाला किया था. We did the reaction of metals. Yeah, we did the reaction of metal plus acid. So उसके बाद I told you ये जो the middle one, these ones, you had these metals that would normally react. The bottom ones were too unreactive, and the top ones in the reactivity series were too reactive. TK, they were too reactive. They would explosively react. So it wasn't safe to produce salts. So the only metals available, it's the middle ones over here. I say one, that's one thing. So metal plus acid, that's going to produce salt NH2. And then there were other equations. We did metal oxide plus acid, and that will also produce salt plus H2. Salt plus H2, sorry, it's going to produce salt plus H2O. Yeah, that was a reaction that we practiced as well. There was another one which was metal, which was kind of the same metal hydroxide plus acid. I remember oxide and hydroxide pretty much kind of are the same thing. But you add water to an oxide, it turns into a hydroxide. You remove water from hydroxide, it turns back into an oxide. I this one would produce salt plus water as well. So it's kind of the same reaction. And the last one that we did was that we practiced was it was metal carbonate plus acid, and that would produce salt plus water plus carbon dioxide. So there are four reactions which we have already practiced. अच्छा जरा मैंने शेयर तो किया था चलो मैं कर देता हूँ अच्छा there are four reactions of that are going to produce salts, and we practice all those equations. We even balance them. And it's pretty easy. Okay, it's always going to be an acid, metal oxide, metal hydroxide, or इसको circle कर लेते हैं बल्कि let me highlight this. So it's either going to be a metal or a metal oxide, or it's going to be a metal hydroxide or a metal carbonate. Sorry, there was one more reaction, but that one was limited for ammonia. Okay, if you're being asked to produce an ammonium salt, so that one is only for ammonium salts. Here there's a fifth equation as well. So the one, and we practiced all these reactions already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a salt, and we would have to guess the equation. How do we which reaction should we perform? So let's say the salt I want to make, that is aluminium nitrate. Al is plus 3, NO3 is minus 1, so that's Al 1, NO3 3 times. Okay, so that is aluminium nitrate. ठीक है, that's my salt. अच्छा इसमें एक सेकेंड, ये मैथ के नाम से कौन है वो प्लीज एक से देना मैं मैथ्स वाले को। एक सेकेंड। मीटिंग चलो, एक सेकेंड। अच्छा, so listen, I want to, चलो ठीक है, coming back to this. Now I want to make this salt, which is aluminum nitrate. So I've got 4 5 reactions which I can choose from. So by just looking at this salt, मुझे बताओ what is the acid that's going to be used? Remember, you've got metal plus acid, metal oxide plus acid,
then
metal.
नाइट्रिक एसिड से।
ठीक है, तो remember acid का ना आपको you can just by looking at it you can figure out which acid it is. ठीक है, वो acid is already, I mean there's NO3 written over there, so the acid is already uh, by just looking at the salt you can figure out what the acid is. So that's going to be nitric acid, that's going to be HNO3. ठीक है, नबीरा, रानिया, बाकियों को clear है, सारों को, Ahmed, is this clear that you look at the salt, you know what the acid is? Is that clear?
सर सर अब एल्युमिनियम हाइड्रोक्साइड और एल्युमिनियम ऑक्साइड दोनों में से कोई एक भी यूज कर सकते हैं।
हाँ। नहीं नबीरा, this, see, मैं उस पे I'm going back, ठीक है, 1 second. अच्छा, so Nabila, I'm just going to recap this. See, if you look at the salt, it has NO3 in it, right? So what acid? Remember, all salts are produced by some acid. I mean, there's always an acid that will produce a salt. We made a lot of equations related to
كم
this.
كبارات واي كم زاغيرات واي شيء ندري ما بي
So,
فلا ستارت شنو
somebody's mic is on. Ghayur, can you mute your mic? Acha. Acha, this one. So, Nabila, by looking at the salt, you can figure out what the acid is. क्योंकि इसमें क्या आ रहा है? NO3 is coming into this, right? If I had asked you to make this salt, let's say I wanted to make aluminium chloride. By looking at the salt, what acid is going to produce this salt? क्योंकि इसमें there is Cl in it, right? Which acid has Cl in it? It's probably going to be
हाइड्रोक्लोरिक एसिड।
HCl. ठीक है? If I give you another salt like aluminum sulfate, right? SO4 is -2, Al is +3. So it's going to be Al2SO4 thrice, right? By simply looking at this salt, I know okay, what acid was used to produce this salt, and that was going to be, it's going to be sulfuric acid, right? Is this clear? ये clear है सारों को? अच्छा, so the point is, all
यस सर
salts, all salts are produced by an acid, ठीक है? And by looking at the salt, you would know कि what the acid is. ठीक है, उसमें ज्यादा सोचना नहीं है, NO3 आ रहा है तो कौन सा acid है? Nitric acid है. अच्छा, now you've got 4 options or 5 options. So you know what the acid is, ठीक है? So you got 4 options now. You can either make the salt by reacting it with a metal or a metal oxide or a metal hydroxide or a metal carbonate, ठीक है? Or अगर if it had been an ammonium salt, you would have used ammonia, ठीक है? लेकिन let's ignore the last one for now. So I've got 4 options. Okay, what do I react with this? I can react a metal with it. Metal कौन सा होगा? It's obviously going to be aluminium, right? Or let me just copy this. I mean, I've got 4 options to make this salt. Okay, this is my second option. I'm going to, this is the third one. The fourth, ठीक है. So, or what else is the option? I could have metal oxide, which is going to be aluminium oxide. Al is +3, oxygen is -2, so it's going to be Al2O3. अच्छा, then what else can you have? ठीक है, हाँ गयूर, आप एक काम करो, अभी आप बस वो क्लास अटेंड करो, बाकी मैं आपको ना फिर बाद में डिस्कस करूँ, ये सिर्फ डेमो है आपके लिए, ठीक है? तो आप बस उसको अटेंड करो, बाकी डिस्कशन बाद में कर लेते हैं. अच्छा, the next one is what else can I have? I can have aluminium, metal oxide, metal hydroxide. I can have aluminium hydroxide. So in that case, it's going to be Al +3 and OH -1, and that's going to give me AlOH3. So I could react this one with nitric acid, or I could have a carbonate, which would be aluminium carbonate. Al is +3, CO3 is -2, so it's going to be Al2 CO3 thrice. So remember, I've got 4 options that are all going to produce a salt. I got a metal, I've got a metal oxide, I've got a metal hydroxide, and I've got a metal carbonate. All of them, they're going to produce the same salt. Okay. The other thing is, all these options have certain byproducts which are going to be next to them. We did all of these. So what were those byproducts? Metal plus acid, where the byproduct is H2 gas. Metal oxide plus acid, that's going to give me water. Metal hydroxide plus acid, that's going to give me water as well. And metal carbonate plus acid, that's going to give me water plus carbon dioxide. The point is, if when it comes to salt preparation, they're going to ask you, okay, what is the reaction that's going to give you aluminium nitrate? That's the first thing. And you've got 4 options: metal plus acid, metal oxide plus acid, metal hydroxide plus acid, and metal carbonate plus acid. ये भी हम practice करते हैं, ठीक है? It's not going to be that easy. But is this clear? Rania, Nabila, Ahmed, Zar, Ibad, is this clear? Yeah, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the next salt. Let's come up with an easy salt. Okay, what would be the reaction? So the salt I want to make is NaCl. Let's do NaCl. The salt I'm going to make is NaCl. So if I want to make NaCl, what is the acid that I'm going to use? If I want to make NaCl, it's कौन सा होगा? What acid would I use to make
HCl.
this? Yeah, वो HCl है, ठीक है? So you've got HCl. So you've got HCl, and you've got again 4 options. अच्छा, कौन-कौन से 4 options हैं? इधर कर देते हैं, एक second.
तो एक सवाल है, जब एक अकेला एलिमेंट, जब अकेला मेटल रिएक्ट कर रहा है, तो उसका वो चार्ज है, उसका कोई मतलब काम नहीं होगा ना, या लाइक इक्वेशन में?
नहीं, अकेला मेटल जैसे एल्यूमिनियम होगा ना, तो उससे वो तो अभी तक तो उससे इलेक्ट्रॉन लूज ही नहीं किया ना, तो वो तो कोई
ठीक।
चार्ज नहीं होगा. वो तो जब कंपाउंड बनता है ना, तो वो Al+3 होता है, वो NO3-1 होता है, एक लूज करता है, एक गेन करता है. सो रिमेंबर, चार्जेस आर ऑलवेज प्रेजेंट इन कंपाउंड्स, ठीक है? अच्छा, तो NaCl वाले केस में, I want to make NaCl, I know it's obvious that the acid is HCl. So metal, metal oxide, metal hydroxide, metal carbonate. I've got 4 options, ठीक है? So the metal will be what? Na. वही होगा ना, और कौन सा होगा, ठीक है? If it's, I could have metal oxide, which is going to be metal and oxygen. Na is group 1+1, oxygen is -2, so it's going to be Na2O, ठीक है? I'm going to have metal hydroxide, Na+1, OH -1. So it's pretty obvious it's NaOH. Or I could have metal carbonate, which is going to be Na or CO3. Now, Na is +1 and CO3 is -2, so it's going to be Na2 CO3. ये charges मैं हटा देता हूँ, ठीक है? I'm going to get rid of the working. So this is metal plus acid will produce what? H2 gas. Metal oxide plus acid will produce H2O. Metal hydroxide plus acid will also produce H2O. Metal carbonate plus acid will produce water plus carbon dioxide. ठीक है? और चारों नहीं पता होने से you just मतलब you're going to make a salt, so you're just going to select one of them. ठीक है? अब इनमें से ना the four reactions that I've written, one of them is not practical or is actually dangerous to perform. Which one is it? कौन बताएगा? Which one is not suitable to perform in a school laboratory?
Na+HCl बहुत reactive है सर.
हाँ, क्योंकि metals में मैंने कहा था कि जब when I was explaining this, I told you that the only metals that you're going to use are mazet metals: magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, and tin. So ये जो metal वाला reaction है ना, the only metals you're going to react, it's one of these. So Na is just too explosive. So this one is too explosive and too dangerous. You're never going to use this reaction. ठीक है? अगर ये use किया ना, they're going to cut marks for this. तो अभी यही कर लेते हैं, एक और solve कर लेते हैं. Let's say I have कौन सी salt? Magnesium not sodium phosphate, potassium phosphate कर लेते हैं. Let's do potassium phosphate. ठीक है? This is the salt I want to make. तो इधर मुझे था कि the salt is K3PO4. Now quickly tell me what the acid is.
Phosphoric acid sir.
Okay, so it's going to be, I'm going to use phosphoric acid, and up here you've got four options. You got four options to prepare this salt. The four options are, it's either going to be a metal, and it will produce H2 gas as a byproduct. It's either going to be a metal oxide, वो भी K2O होगा क्योंकि it's the same, and the byproduct would be water. It's either going to be potassium hydroxide, and the byproduct would be water again. Or it's going to be potassium carbonate, and again your byproduct would be water plus carbon dioxide. ठीक है? That's it.
सर एक सवाल है, जो फर्स्ट इक्वेशन है वो भी लाइक परफॉर्म तो नहीं की जा सकती ना, बिल्कुल टॉप पे है.
The first wali, you can't use the first one. Potassium is group 1, its reaction is too explosive, so potassium in the form of a metal is not going to be used. So the first potassium compounds would be used, but potassium metal will not be used. Okay. Then is this clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है? तो अच्छा, ये तो एक पार्ट हो गया. So अच्छा, this thing अब next चीज पे आ रहे हैं. The next thing is, is this clear, Dania? Nabila, is this clear? नहीं, नबीरा, आपका क्वेश्चन क्या है? देखो ये तीन, मैं वो कह रहा हूँ, these three are fine. ठीक है? There's nothing wrong with these three. You just have to be careful with the metal reaction because you can't use all metals to prepare a salt. Potassium is group 1 metal. It's too explosive. It will just blow up the place. So that is not used. The other three are suitable. हाँ, लेकिन इनमें से एक करनी होगी. मतलब you're not going to write all of them. You just want one reaction क्योंकि उसको कहेगा ना कि he's going to ask you to prepare a salt. So you're just going to come up with one option out of all these. ठीक है? वो aluminium, in the case of aluminium, you've got four options. So you just have to pick one to prepare a salt. So next one. That is, so the next one is the method of preparation. I said this this thing over here, this is very important because you get big questions on this in ATP as well, or also in your theory paper. And it's something that's very fundamental. Okay, they always ask you about methods of preparation of salts. Now, method of preparation is basically how would you perform the reaction, all the reactions that we did, okay, all these three reactions. How would you perform this reaction in the school laboratory? So I'm going to start with the first one. You get the first method of preparation, and that's known as the excess method. Okay, that's method number one. Okay, I'm going to write all the methods. So that's known as the excess method. Now forget what the method is. Method is how would you perform the experiment in the lab? Like the procedure of doing the reaction. Okay, we declare method. It's the procedure or lab procedure. So the first one is the excess method, which is going to be used if you're producing you've got an insoluble reactant and you're trying to produce a soluble salt from it. Okay, that's the first method. And let me write all of them down first. The second method, that's known as titration. So what is titration? Titration, what is titration is going to be discussed later on. When do you use titration? When you have soluble reactants and you're trying to produce a soluble salt from it. So then you've got the third method of preparation, which is known as ionic precipitation or just precipitation. Okay, that's a third method. When do you use it? When you have soluble reactants and you're trying to produce an insoluble salt from it. So we haven't discussed what the methods are. I'm just writing down the conditions when to use which procedure. So the first one, the first one is, the first one, which is the excess method, we're gonna select that. It's insoluble reactant and we are trying to produce a soluble salt. So insoluble reactant. So randomly I'm just going to write down. I'm going to write down one reaction. So for example, I'm trying to make magnesium chloride. So I'm trying to make magnesium chloride. So what acid would I use? I'm going to use HCl obviously. And I've got four options. I can use magnesium oxide, magnesium hydroxide, or a magnesium carbonate, right? So let's say I start with magnesium. Remember, mazit minimum M is for magnesium, so I can use magnesium, and the byproduct would be H2 gas, right? The other options I had was magnesium oxide. I could have used magnesium hydroxide. Yeah, I could have used magnesium carbonate as well, but I didn't use them. I just went with magnesium. So now this is the salt I'm trying to produce. And this is my reactant that I'm using. The reactants, I'm just going to ignore HCl for a moment. Now, acids, remember, are soluble. They're always soluble. So I'm just going to write down what acids are. They're obviously soluble. इसका पता करते हैं, is magnesium chloride soluble or is it not soluble? For that, I would have to refer to the
सॉल्युबल
solubility
है
table.
सर.
तो देख लेते हैं एक दफा फिर से solubility table किधर गया? Chlorides, right? What does it say about chlorides? That they are all soluble, except for the silver and lead. All the rest are all soluble. So almost all chlorides are soluble, except for silver and lead. So that means magnesium chloride is definitely soluble. So that is, uski state kya hogi? It's going to be aqueous. So it's a soluble salt, right? Achha, what about my reactant? Magnesium. It's a metal. It's a metal, and obviously metals are not soluble. They are solids, right? So that means I'm trying to produce a soluble salt from an insoluble reactant. Okay, my salt is soluble, but my reactant is not soluble.
So
So
all the metals are insoluble, right?
हाँ metal तो होता ही insoluble ना मतलब metal is uh, metals don't dissolve. But there is no such thing as aqueous metal. Metals react with water. That's a separate thing. जैसे iron होता है ना, iron water के साथ react करके क्या बनाता है? It makes rust, right? तो वो तो that's a reaction. That's not solubility. Solubility तो होती है कि the substance remains intact, right? But it dissolves or mixes. But so metals don't mix with water. Some of them they react with water, but they don't mix in water, right? So, as anyways, what is the method? A soluble salt is being prepared from an insoluble reactant. The soluble salt is being made from an insoluble reactant. So, कौन सा method है? That's going to be excess method. Is this clear? Okay, the method that you're going to use to prepare this is excess method. You don't know what the method is because we didn't discuss it. Like at least we know what the method that's going to get applied to this is the excess method. Okay, is this clear?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm just going to randomly I'm going to randomly look at the equations that we've already made. Let's try this one. Okay, what is the method? Potassium is group 1. What did the solubility table tell you about group 1?
All group 1 are soluble, sir.
Okay, anything that has group 1 in it, that is soluble, right? So इसका मतलब है this one is potassium carbonate is soluble. The acid is acids are H+1. Anything that has H+1 or is an acid is automatically soluble. Again, potassium group 1, that is also
Soluble. Titration, sir.
so everything is soluble. You're making a soluble salt from reactants which are also soluble. So if you're making, so यहाँ पे देख लो कि if you make soluble things from soluble reactants, the method that's going to be used is going to be titration. So the method in this case would be, either लिख देता हूँ, it's going to be titration. ठीक है? I mean, that's the way you're going to produce the salt. इसी तरह, let's do this one. This one again. Sodium carbonate group 1, right? Group 1 compounds are all soluble. Acid is obviously soluble. NaCl group 1 compound, that is also soluble. So if you want to make soluble things from reactants that are also soluble, that means you're going to use titration. ठीक है? और देख लेते हैं.
सर एक सवाल है,
हाँ,
मेटल सर इनसॉल्युबल नहीं होते?
insoluble होता है. मैंने किसको
तो
soluble किया?
फिर Na भी तो एक मेटल है ना सर?
वो Na का compound है. Na metal.
अच्छा,
मैं तो उसकी
ठीक, सही सही, यस, समझ में आ गया. मतलब अगर इटसेल्फ अगर रिएक्ट करते फिर ना होता, राइट?
हाँ, जैसा ये ऊपर टॉप आता है ना, एल्यूमिनियम, राइट? तो एल्यूमिनियम वुड बी insoluble, right? Solid होगा ना. And nitric acid, that is soluble. NO3 के बारे में, what does the solubility table tell you about NO3? Solubility table. Solubility table was all group 1 compounds are soluble. Anything that has NO3 minus 1 in it is soluble. Anything that has NH4 plus 1 is soluble. Acids are all soluble. ठीक है? तो NO3 कहीं पे भी आ गया ना, that's going to be That's going to be soluble. ठीक है, so कहाँ गई हमारी equation कहाँ गई है? And so this one has NO3 in it, so that is going to be soluble. So again, you're making a soluble salt from a reactant which is insoluble. So कौन सा method है? The method is excess method. ठीक है? Is this clear? और मैं फिर से बता रहा हूँ कि I haven't told you what the method is. अभी we just identifying what is the method. अच्छा, तो let's do some more with the equations that we had balanced earlier. वो ये verb states we mean. So soluble, and the reactant is insoluble. So what is the method? That's going to be excess method. Okay, is this clear? Here, Rania and Nabila, is this clear? अच्छा, ये तो सारी metal plus acid है. इसको कर लेते हैं this one. अच्छा, solubility table, sulfates. You got this equation. So that's a sulfate. Sulfate के बारे में I'm going to read this solubility table, which is that all sulfates are soluble, except for 4, 5, like lead, barium, strontium, calcium, एक और था, lead, silver sulfate. So otherwise, all sulfates are soluble. So this one is soluble. Okay, this is soluble. Acid by default is soluble. This the solubility table. What did it tell you about carbonates? Carbonates, ka tha, they're all insoluble, except for group 1 and a few others. But most of them are insoluble. This one is insoluble. So if so you got a soluble salt and you're making it from an insoluble reactant. So in this case, it's going to be excess method. ठीक है? You probably कर लेते हैं. Again, you've got potassium, right? Potassium means group 1. Group 1 means it's going to be soluble. Acid, that is soluble. Group 1 salt, that is soluble. So if all of them are soluble, the method that's going to be used in this case is going to be titration. Okay, is this clear to everyone?
जी सर.
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, तो ये चीज ना, this is अच्छा, the third one, we're not discussing the third one right now. We're going to do it at the end. Abhi, we're just going to stick to the first two methods. So I'm going to talk a little about excess method. वो फिर अगली class में continue करेंगे. Just a little about excess method. Mainly what you need to know is कि बाकी काम आसान है. अच्छा, the whole chapter, ठीक है? Remember, एक page में write down the stuff that needs to be memorized. The solubility table, the 4 equations that we did, 5 actually, including the ammonia equation, the 5 equations, the list of ions, the charges, the list of acids. Okay, write it down somewhere, okay, because you would have to, you're going to keep forgetting it. So you need some place to easily reference it. Okay. So now excess method. Once you've identified what the method is, the next part is just memorization of what the method really is. Okay. So it's just a description, or it's just a way of performing the reaction in the lab. And the wordings are going, because it's going to be a 4-5 mark question. So the wordings have to be, remember, it's a science exam. So you don't, I mean, you're not going to use your own words. It's not like you're not writing an English essay. It has to be point form. I mean, it's best that it is point form. Okay. Point form, I mean, writing things in points in chemistry and sciences is preferred. Okay. So, but the thing is, you need to know the steps. What are the steps? And every time you have to reproduce those steps. I mean, once you've identified excess method, you're going to just write those steps down and that's it. Okay, but I'm going to explain what the excess method is. So when was it used? Insoluble reactant. And you were going to produce a soluble salt. So the example is I've got magnesium, let's say reacting with HCl, the examples that we did. So reacting with HCl and it's producing MgCl2 plus H2 gas. Insoluble reactant, this is soluble. This is soluble as well. And H2 is a gas. Okay. But clearly लिख लेते हैं, this is insoluble. And you're making a soluble salt from it. So now what is the method? The method is pretty simple. You've got acid. So you're going to take a beaker. And the beaker is going to be full of the acid. You've got two reactors. You're going to mix the two reactants, right? That's what you're going to do. You're going to take HCl. And Mg, remember Mg is a metal. It's a piece of metal. It's a shiny, वो strip नहीं होती, it's aluminium. It's something that looks similar to aluminium foil. So what is going to happen is, okay, उसके अंदर ना you will place this piece of square कर लेते हैं. So you're going to just place this piece of magnesium inside it. So अभी तक simple है. It's take HCl, put Mg in it, right? As soon as you put Mg in it, what you're going to notice is a salt बनना शुरू हो जाएगी. It's going to be a soluble salt, right? MgCl2. And there's going to be H2 gas being produced. So what you'll notice is immediately you'll see bubbles of H2 gas forming. Because some fizzing start ho jayegi, you'll see effervescence. You'll see a lot of bubbles forming. And that is what you're going to see. So we're out of time to description. So right now I've just made it simple. Okay, you take HCl, you just put Mg in it. But there's some issues with this. So we're going to talk about the steps. Okay, how do we get pure salt? How do we get pure crystals of this salt once this reaction happens? So the rest of the part we'll discuss tomorrow. Okay? So is this clear? We'll discuss the method in detail tomorrow then.
Allah Hafiz, sir.
The
Allah Hafiz.